All right, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and we've got some breaking news. Not even 2 minutes ago, it hit the wire, and I want to get it over to you guys as fast as possible. If you had any kind of questions about the Detroit Lions, what was going to happen with Aiden Hutchinson? Would they re-sign him now? Would they wait for the end of the season? Well, I've got good news. Aiden Hutchinson just signed a 4-year contract extension to remain with the Detroit Lions. We don't have the full details yet. We're going to have to probably wait about 24 hours to get that. But this is coming from ESPN. This is coming from Adam Schefter, amongst others who are quick to jump on this story. I think I do want to give some credit to Moonscar Blade. I want to give some credit to Hutch Jr. and a bunch of you guys, Riley, that jumped out to make sure I had the news. I was working on the thumbnail when you guys chimed in. But you know what? Hey, great news for the Detroit Lions. They did resign, as we all know, recently, just before the start of the regular season, Jamison Williams to a deal. Hey, Aiden Hutchinson, we know one thing about defensive ends, especially ones that are having the type of seasons and career that Aiden Hutchinson is having. The price tag is only going to go up, up, and away. There have been a lot of speculation at the start of training camp. The Lions were close to signing Hutchinson, and then it sounded like things kind of quieted down. We got reports from all over the place, Detroit-based media reporters, etc., saying, hey, it sounds like they might table this thing until after the year. But I think we can also agree nearly halfway into this season, Hutchinson, any questions about that injured leg have been squashed. There's no more questions about it. You see the motor. Some are saying he even looks more athletic now. Maybe that's true or not. I'm not here to debate that. What I am here to debate is the star defensive end from the University of Michigan, Detroit's own, et cetera, he's not leaving anytime soon. I did reach out to Hutch Jr. and Riley to see if they could jump on. Unfortunately, everybody's at work right now, so they're trying to get on when they can. But if you're a Detroit Lions fan, we talk about this regime. We talk about how they believe in their own draft picks, signing their own guys, trying to get people to remain here in Detroit, building a culture. In fact, that's Hutch Jr. right now. He's trying to join as we speak, but we all get it. The Lions front office have completely changed how the national attention media is about this organization. 5 years ago, when the Quintricia era happened and ended, nobody wanted to be a Detroit Lion. The only way you got free agents to come here was to overpay them. If you got drafted by the Detroit Lions, you might say, hey, that's the end of your career. Hutch Jr., we're going to try to get you up here on the show here. Let me see if I can figure this thing out and get it all figured out. Hey, there we go. When you hear this news about Aiden Hutchinson resigning with the team, 4-year deal, what are your initial thoughts?
So obviously love this. I think the team wanted to make sure, he was good after that significant injury. So now you're looking at, you have Hutch 5 years. You still got one more year technically off his rookie contract. And then Now you just sign him to a 4-year deal. So I look at this two ways. Either A, the team is looking to do something at the trade deadline and wanted to get this done. That way they knew where their cap stands. I think that's why they did this. I'm interested to see the number. I'm probably going to say it's going to be in that 4-year, like 185 range, probably backloaded a bit, kind of what they did with the Kirby extension. I'm very interested to see the numbers, but I think it's going to be in that 185, 187 range. I think he's up there with Micah Parsons. You got to pay the guy. But I do think there's going to be a lot of money guaranteed. I would not be shocked if they got this done because they want to add at the deadline. I know this was the deal that everyone was talking about. I think, we were waiting for it. Everyone was waiting for it. He's came back. I think he's been better this year than, what he was doing last year. Sacks aren't as near as what they were last year, but he's leading the league in pressures, if not, second. I think he's just behind Parsons. But, this is huge, man. For Lions fans, I think we were wondering when this was going to happen. It was a matter of time. I think it was in the works. And I know Hutch is probably happy, and he's going to be hyped up on Sunday to play off this new contract.
From a player perspective and a coaching perspective, probably like most people in life, when you have your future known to you, it's no longer a question or a gamble, especially someone who plays a high impact position like him. We saw the gruesome injury last year. Now that you removed the next 5 years of, are you going to have income? Are you going to have a contract? What's it going to look like from him? How much more do you think he can now focus on his craft, his position, and this Detroit Lions defense?
No, you hit it right on the head. I think that was big for him. I don't think there was probably a doubt in his head that he was ever going to leave Detroit. I don't think we're going to let him walk out the building. But you always have that, like, hey, am I going to resign here? Am I going to go elsewhere? And I just think, as Brad Holmes and those guys, they like to get ahead of these things. They don't want these players unhappy. They've made it very clear, like, hey, our homegrown guys, our players that we draft, we want to keep here. So yeah, I think Hutch is just probably relieved. He's definitely happy to be back playing football. And then now he's got a contract to show for it. And, it's life changing money for some of these guys to be able to, especially this. I mean, this kid's a hometown kid. He's loved by pretty much everybody around the world and especially just here. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens now. I do think this is going to set up a couple of trades for the Lions, depending on where the cap sits. So I was excited when I saw the news.
You know, you hear about the Lions, everybody's got them tied to this trade, that trade, or whatever. Let's just, for a second, let's assume that the Lions are doing this to try to make some sort of move into the trade deadline. Where do you think it's more likely they target to acquire some players? What positions jump out to you?
I would probably say offensive tackle, just kind of. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think they go out and get a huge name, but I wouldn't mind them going out and get a name on the left side. Decker's been dealing with that shoulder injury. I would like to see them shore that up just in case. Cornerback's been in the market. I know we're going to start getting healthy here. I know DJ Reed was back on the sidelines yesterday, so maybe you get him back either next week or the following week. I know it was rumored that he was coming back for the Giants. You're getting Terry on back, so we're in a spot where we weren't in last year. You remember about this time last year, we were injured and we weren't getting anybody back. This year, we're injured but getting everyone back. I think Brad, I don't think he wants to run into that problem he had last year where we get deep in the season, we have nobody that can play, and we're just kind of, we're that Super Bowl favorite team, and we have, we're throwing out practice squad players. I think Brad wants to get a hold of that. I would not be shocked if he adds a corner and maybe a tackle. I would like him. I know Thibodeau was in the news for possibly getting targeted. I don't see the Giants trading him, but they have some contracts over there and they don't, he's kind of the odd man out. I know he was their draft pick, but I don't know. Some of those GMs don't like trading away their first draft picks. So that would be my ideal. You have him under control for 2 years at 13 million and cap hit of 9 million this year. So he would be a nice opposite of Hutch. And then you have Davenport coming back. You have AQM who's kind of came on, and who knows when Pascal will be back.
Pascal, we get that he's dealing with some probably personal issues regarding his health. Wish him all the best. Davenport, there was a lot of talk about him. Maybe this will be the year he stays healthy. Obviously, yesterday's press conference with Dan Campbell kind of pushed that on the back burner. When he comes back, do you think he resumes as a starting end, or do you think somebody else has replaced him?
No, I think AQM's solidified. If we don't trade anybody, I think AQM's probably that guy. I think that'll just be one of those things where they rotate that position on the opposite side of Hutch. I think now because they get a lean back, I think you have that luxury of being able to rotate those guys. And I think my thing with Davenport is you can rotate him to keep him fresh. So when you do need him in those downs where needs to get to the quarterback outside of Hutch and all those, he can come in. So, I think AQM is kind of came on this year like no one expected him to. And I think that's just his spot to lose. It sucks for Davenport, but the best availability is being on the field. And if you can't do that, then, sorry, someone's going to take that spot. This is the NFL.
You're not wrong there. Lions have a bit of a game in front of them this weekend, an NFC North foe. What do you think happens with the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy? I know you've watched him in college, maybe wished him some ill will as a State fan, but what do you think ultimately the Minnesota Vikings have going into this game?
Reading the news articles about this whole situation is really weird to me. Everyone goes back and said he was injured. Who knows if he was really injured? I feel like it was a 6-week benching to kind of get this guy to learn the playbook a little bit. And then the news comes out about Carson Wentz tearing a ligament in his shoulder. He's out there for 2 games, so they don't throw JJ in. Like, is that kind of a shot at JJ? Is he, like blah blah? Is he not good enough to play? Their O-line is terrible. What a week to bring this guy in against D-line. The Lions D-line. They're getting after quarterbacks. They're high in pressure. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like JJ is going to be probably running for his life. He's probably going to make a few plays. I don't expect this to be a close game. I expect the Lions probably to just hurt them. I expect us to probably put up 30, 40 points in this game. It's just, it's crazy. I don't know, man. JJ, I don't ever wish injuries on a player, but
Right.
this is kind of ballsy by Kevin O'Connell to throw him out there after, if he did have a high ankle sprain like they're saying he is. Just watching him those two games against, when he played, it didn't look good for him. I mean, he was getting beat up pretty bad.
Well, as you can probably see it on your screen, the financial details are starting to come out. I got this on Adam Schefter too. He is saying, and thank you for throwing it in the comments section, by the way, there, Detroit Sports Talk. But let's just go over it real quick. Per Adam Schefter, it's a 4-year deal, $141 million guaranteed, 180 in totality. Extension that includes, like I said, the 141 guaranteed. That puts him, Micah Parsons is still number one as far as the pass rushers in the NFL at 46.5. Aiden Hutchinson just a shade behind. Maybe you could say he took a hometown discount at $45 million. You hear those numbers, you see those numbers. What are your initial thoughts on those numbers?
That's right where I thought it was going to come in. I figured he was going to be in that $180 million range with a bunch of money guaranteed. Obviously, I'm interested to see how they'll work the cap on this. I'm sure there's probably some money backloaded, or they'll pay a rookie contract or whatever, so it probably doesn't kick in. Probably, I'm gonna guess either probably next year or the following year. So we will see, man. Maybe he did take a hometown discount. I mean, I thought maybe there was potential he was going to go more than Micah, just because of the season he was having, but to come in just below Micah, and then you got to think we got to pay Gibbs, Laporta, Branch, so some of these guys, man, I think that's kind of what this team has bled into our players is, hey, we want to keep this core together. And some of these guys are going to have to go for restructures and stuff here soon. So, props to Hutch. He got his money, and, now let's go do the thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't push closer to 50 million, but a lot of these guys do want to play together. They think what they're doing here in Detroit is legendary, generational changing for the franchise. Hutch Jr., with all this said and done, let's get you a little bit of press time here. Why don't you tell everybody where to find you, support your content, and all your great work.
Yeah, as always, guys, you can find me on here with Dan. Appreciate everything you guys do. You guys are amazing. Keep hitting that like, hit the share button. Find me on Facebook, The Lions Den, and then you guys can find me on Twitter, Superfan Hutch.
All right, there's going to be a lot of speculation as you're hearing in today's episode. Thank you, Hutch, by the way. The Lions may have pulled off this move to try to move around a few chips or pieces on the chessboard to set up a trade into next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time's trade deadline. Let's see if that shakes out. If there is other breaking news later today, I'll get it to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see everybody on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.